All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about Elon Musk and the ADL situation. We'll be with you in just a minute. All right, and good morning. It's just me for right now, but Cameron is on his way. A traffic thing, I think. So, this morning we're going to talk about the ADL situation with Elon Musk, and this should be entertaining. So, the story is that over the weekend, Elon Musk threatened to sue the ADL, quote unquote, to clear our platform's name on the matter of anti-Semitism, accusing the ADL, to no one's astonishment, of making unfounded accusations. The claim is that anti-Semitism in this country has risen over time. It has risen most especially since Elon Musk bought Twitter. I find this claim dubious. So let's talk about that for a minute. The claim is that anti-Semitic activity has risen steadily over some period. But I kind of, when you say that, I got to say, show me the receipts. If anti-Semitic activity has risen over time, it's kind of like the whole all your martyrs are monsters narrative. The fact of the matter is, every time we see a story about, this poor, innocent, unarmed black man was murdered by the police, like, oh, you mean the poor, innocent black man who was hopped up on fentanyl and threatened a pregnant woman with a gun and beat her in the head repeatedly? You mean the poor guy that was shot several times, survived, by the way, by the police when he pulled a knife on them as they were attempting to arrest him after raping his girlfriend and in the midst of attempting to kidnap her children. The whole, we've said many times on this show, all your martyrs are monsters. If there were an epidemic of unarmed, innocent black men being murdered by police, that would be the only thing in the headlines. right? If those characters existed, it would be the only story you ever heard. The fact, however, is the demand for racist activity far outstrips the supply. And so they continue to attempt to manufacture a supply to meet that demand.
This sounds like you're saying this is MAGA country.
Right, because that was a totally believable story, right? I mean, Juicy Smollier was almost as believable as E. Jean Carroll.
Bro, the E. Jean Carroll thing is its own can of worms. Woo.
Yeah, her story is trending on Twitter again today because apparently the same judge that found Trump liable for defamation in the case where it could not be proved that any of her accusations had occurred at all has also determined that because he was guilty of defaming her, he's guilty of defaming her.
Yeah, I'm clear.
But as the ADL, who's famous for making unfounded accusations, and more importantly, for essentially holding companies hostage to demands made under threat of defamation, like the basic business model of the ADL is they approach companies and they say, "You will take such and such an action. You will remove X product from the shelf. You will ban X person from your platform, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you don't do this, if you don't do the thing we're demanding, then we, the Anti-Defamation League, we will defame you."
Look, I thought about this, okay? I know the best way to describe what they do. The ADL, basically, they show up and they go, "Oi, it's a nice platform you have there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it."
Yeah,
yes.
the ADL, right? RICO's all the rage right now. Everybody's talking about RICO cases. Ooh, everybody's just loving the stories about racketeer influenced corrupt organizations. See, I got it today, Danny. But
God, having a smart chat is so nice.
What the ADL does is racketeering 101. The ADL actively engages in, they use the threat of defamation to conduct acts of extortion. And that's what the organization exists to do. So it's not Musk has a very good claim of action here. His claim, he may be reaching a little bit with it. His claim is that up to 50%, they've lost up to 50% of expected ad revenue based on attempted compliance with ADL extortion. 50% might be a stretch, but not much of one. You look back at things like the adpocalypse, when people were just being thrown off of YouTube and Twitter left and right and demonetized. And often that'll be the thing is, the ADL won't ask them to outright ban somebody. They'll just have them demonetize, shadow ban, delist, derank. Like, oh, no, we didn't throw you off the platform. I mean, nobody's ever going to see anything you say, but we didn't throw you off. And like I was saying when Cameron walked in, if there was this massive rise in anti-Semitic activity, where are the stories?
I would argue that anti-Semitic activity would generate more news than anything else. Like, we hear about all of the racist cops, and we hear about all of the bigoted Southerners and the various permutations of the straw men of the straw men that the lefties are so terrified of. But I would say that, like, the holy grail of it would be actual anti-Semitism.
Maybe it's like the problem with the Asian hate crimes. They can't talk about it because it's all young black men doing it. Oh yeah, there's a rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. Oh, turns out the entire spike in anti-Asian hate crimes is young black men assaulting old Korean women in New York and Los Angeles. Oh, shit! Shit! We gotta get that off. We gotta get that off the paper now. Shut up! Shut up!
Yeah, that beef goes back decades. But what I'm getting at is, if there were actual neo-Nazis constantly beating up Jews, we would hear about nothing else. I think it would be the kind of thing that would even supersede the Trump indictments as far as the news media is concerned.
Right.
Because I was thinking about this.
Instead, the most clear examples of actual anti-Semitic activity come from things like Ilhan Omar and the Squad actively investing in the boycott, divest, and something. What is it? Boycott, divest, and something. The whole screw Jerusalem activity that Ilhan Omar and Ocasio-Cortez and them are involved in.
Right. But the point is, of course.
Oh yeah, Xander mentions the Squad as well. That's
yes. What I was laughing at, because I'm laughing at that right as you bring it up. And
Kanye would be all over that.
First of all, it's Ye. And second of all, Ye seems really busy on boats lately. I don't know that. Anyhow, but we are now. Boy, there's no way to say it. Like, brother, we're in full-blown JQ territory now, and it's kind of terrifying. But we're not actually.
JQ? You mean like chunky yogurt?
I said JQ.
Oh. This does sanctions. That's the other thing. BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. Yes. Thank you, Danny, to the rescue again. Danny, are you sure you're not an American military veteran? Because you seem to have a talent for the TFLAs, the 3- and 4-letter acronyms.
Oh my God, 3- and 4-letter acronyms. Actually. Wow. Okay. That almost completely derailed me. No, but we move uncomfortably into at least JQ adjacent territory, even though I am not somebody who is like, oh my God, it's the JQ. It's a thing that needs to be discussed. Instead, I'd say that this is more of the very same paradigm that has been used against people like you and I our entire life. Like, well, you're actually a racist. Well, gosh, I am. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet. Oh, you're actually a homophobe. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I am. Oh, maybe I'll be quiet. And,
it's a little different, Danny, but just a little.
And BDS always makes me think of smidge different.
Well, so
I've always wanted to go visit Danny, and now at her house up north, and now all of a sudden I don't. Like, I'm kind of terrified. Just don't go in the basement. But, okay, sure. Anyhow, what I'm getting to, and this is important.
Please do.
Oh, that was derailed. Okay. What I'm getting to is...
You know, I was a bouncer at a BDS&M club for...
Nope. What I'm getting to is this is the ultimate level of that you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a homophobe. Now, you're being bad to the Jews?
You'll notice people that hate Jews aren't called Judophobes.
That's funny. That is funny. That is funny. And it's a little weird. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing. But as we were talking about doing this story, like, I spent some real time thinking, we have been, like, I'm 42 this year, and my entire life, except for a brief stopover in the 80s, the Nazis were the bad guys in everything. There was some time in the 80s where the Russians were the bad guys. But otherwise, the Nazis were the bad guys in everything. And the Jews were the victim in everything. There's this whole thing in our society where, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, where as soon as somebody accuses you of even being in the same ballpark as anti-Semitic, well, that's bad. That is a taboo that approaches the levels of children of the corn. If you get the not the acronym, but the comparison. And now here we are. We're in this bizarre world where I'm on Twitter. In fact, I'm a bit of a shithead on Twitter. It is what it is.
You're a bit of a shithead on Twitter?
Yeah, only on Twitter, though. Nowhere else am I a shithead, Chris. You've known me for almost 30 years. You can back me up on this. No shithead. And now I've got dad jokes on top of everything else. But I'm on Twitter. I'm on some fairly seedy corners of Twitter. Like I happen to love to follow red pill MILFs who are pretty salty, and you know, it is what it is. Basically the exact people that you would think would be anti-Semitic, and yet it's just not there. You know, the hatred of the Jew, the persecution of the Jew, it's not there. So there's this clear and obvious rise in anti-Semitic. You know, remember when Elon Musk did that interview with the British reporter a few months ago, and he was like, well, there's so much more racism on the platform, it's obvious. And
Elon just looked at the guy and said, where?
Okay, where?
Point at it.
Yeah.
Show me.
Show me.
Oh, well, I haven't seen any of it myself. Oh. But it's there. Where?
Yeah, where?
So you mentioned the JQ, and we'll be live on Rumble tomorrow.
No, I don't mean literally. Okay. I'm
going somewhere with this.
Okay.
Many years ago, before I ever heard anybody refer to that in particular, I was working. I had a little Aflac franchise. I was selling Aflac around Savannah, Georgia, and I had a pretty good thing going down there because at the time, we were talking like 2003, 2004. At the time, all the Aflac guys selling the supplemental insurance policies in the area were, almost all of them were older Jewish women. And as a result, there was this wonderful niche that I could slide into: titty bars. Nobody was selling insurance to strippers, and so I just didn't. It was a vacuum market, and I jumped right in there and started making money selling insurance to strippers. Well, I had a partner that I worked with then. He was a very orthodox older Jewish guy named Morris. Great guy. Unfortunately, Morris passed away a few years ago, but we were riding around selling insurance to strippers one day, and Morris says to me, Chris, do you know why we Jews have money and everything seems to go good for us, et cetera, et cetera? Like, okay, this is an interesting topic. I'll bite. Why? Because our religion teaches us that we should discuss money and its proper handling with our children, and we do that at the dinner table. That's what we talk about. We sit at the dinner table and we talk about, how do you open a business? How do you run a business? How do you manage your finances? How do you apply for loans? How do you make those loans work? How do you this? How do you that? How do you this? And I thought to myself, you know, if that really is the secret, why don't we do that? And so we do that in my house. We talk to the kids about stuff like that because I had that conversation with my buddy Morris 20 some years ago.
Well, that seems to be something that's not just a Jewish trait, but that portion of the world, that portion of the globe. Because if you'll notice, the Muslims that come from that region, And and don't even get me started on the guys that are like, man, India sucks, I'm moving.
Right. But at the same time, when we were coming up, we were told that you don't talk about money. You don't ask a man what he makes.
That's right.
You don't talk about how much you earn.
You don't talk about money.
Religion, politics, or money.
That's right.
It's rude.
Yeah, it's so rude to talk about
look where that's got us.
I was about to say, yes, it's so terribly rude to talk about the things that literally affect your present, your future, and your eternity. Don't talk about those things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's weird. That actually dovetails into what I was saying. Like, there's just certain things we're not allowed to talk about. There's certain narratives we're not allowed to question. And, like, I saw good old George Takei. You could just use him as like a freaking weather vane for whatever stupidity is going to come out of the left. And of course, he's like, if you're on the side that is suing the ADL, you might be on the wrong side. And I don't remember the exact quote, but that was his take. He was trying to be clever and sarcastic and make the point. It's like, hey.
Yeah. So I got a news flash for you there, Georgie boy. The Japanese internment camps were done by a Democrat.
I know that never ceases to amaze me. Oh, Pit Danny say, what's my Twitter handle? Cam? Like, Danny just accidentally totally did Who's on First.
What's on second?
What's the name of the guy on second? Sorry. Gotta love Abbott and Costello.
Who signs his check every week?
Don't call me Shirley. And now I'm mixing. Yeah, anyhow. But the point is, it's a certain thing that we're not allowed to question. And Rod Purvis even says it's no freedom of speech for you peasants. It's not that I am anti-Semitic, but I'm not even allowed to say certain things. I'm not even allowed to bring up certain things. It's actually dangerous for me to say, no, I'm in some... I rather enjoy some seedy corners of Twitter, and I just don't see this giant spike in anti-Semitism, pro-Nazi. It's not there. I follow Red Pill Twitter, typically of the female persuasion, but I follow Red Pill Twitter that says some pretty salty things that occasionally will push boundaries and say things that are inappropriate, but this giant, oh my God, the Nazis are coming, it doesn't exist. And now suddenly this thing that doesn't exist, that's one of the very few things that could stop Elon Musk from rebuilding X, by the way. Like, you get tagged with that anti-Semitism thing, that is the ultimate cancellation. It'll make what happened to Scott Dilbert guy. Damn it.
Scott Adams.
Scott Adams, thank you. It'll make what happened to Scott Adams look like child's play. And now they're trying to do it to Elon Musk, and anybody that wants to even to begin to discuss it, like it's dangerous for Chris and I to talk about this. Don't be shocked if the channel gets a strike.
Yeah, Firearms Friday on Rumble tomorrow, guys.
But I heard somebody say once, and I feel like this is the appropriate point to bring it up. If you make a joke about white people, it's either funny or it's offensive. If you make a joke about black people, it's either funny or it's offensive. If you make a joke about gay people, it's funny or offensive. Go all the way down the line, okay? You ever notice how if somebody makes a joke about Jewish people, the quality of the joke is never what's in question? The truth of the joke is never what's in question. If you make a joke about a Jew loving money, you never hear somebody say, well, gosh, that wasn't funny. And you never hear somebody say, well, God, that's not true. No. Instead, what they say is you shouldn't joke about Jews. And it's like, why is that? And it's just, just put that in your little pipe and smoke it and think about it. And look, the BFM has not gone full-blown JQ. Don't panic. We're not going to start talking about 1,352 reasons why, okay? But at the same time, I figure if we're going to ride the rails, we might as well ride them all the way out there, buddy. Anyhow, that was my own fault. Anyhow, the point is, we're not allowed to talk about these things. We're not allowed to ask these questions. We're not allowed to even make these observations. And because we're not allowed to talk about these things, not allowed to make these observations, we're not allowed to discuss the real reason why the ban the ADL hashtag actually has traction. If all the ADL did was protect Jews, nobody would have a problem with it.
You mean the ADL with the CEO Jonathan Greenblatt?
That one? Unverified Bear says, if you've never heard a joke slating Jewish people, you've never heard a Jewish comedian.
No shit.
Yeah, but Jews are allowed to make fun of Jews. It's, dare I say it, I might as well just break all the taboos today. Gay people are allowed to talk about British cigarettes. Black people are allowed to say the N-word. And Jews are allowed to make...
Oh, and there's that word that only we're allowed to use. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Father.
Ooh, not where I was going with that, but damn, son. My point was we don't have a word.
Yeah.
Everybody can say cracker, apparently.
Yeah. Except us. That might have been the thing that got this chick.
And now somebody's printing.
That was weird.
See what I'm pulling out of my ass here.
So long story short,
all that noise for a blank sheet of paper. Thank you, dear.
Yeah, Unverified Bear, everyone can say it or no one can say it, period. That's typically the lines that I'm on as far as free speech is concerned. If it's not okay for one group to say it, it shouldn't be okay for any group to say it. And I tend to be more of an absolutist on free speech. I think you should just be allowed to say it. But here we go. This is where I'm at. I'm at the point in life where, it's Elon Musk versus the ADL. I don't even need to know the details. I'm probably on Elon's side.
Yeah.
And I realize that's a deeply cynical place to be.
If Spike Lee was suing the ADL, I would be on Spike Lee's side.
Wow. So that's your hierarchy, huh?
That's
or lowerarchy?
If the Drag Queen Story Hour organization wanted to file suit against the ADL, I would contribute to their legal fund. I mean, the ADL is a criminal organization.
Yeah.
They're literally engaged in the activity of extorting people by threatening to defame them. If you don't submit to our criminal demand, we will harm you with a crime.
No, look, it's like I said at the beginning. It's hey, look, listen, Goyam, that's a nice store you have there. It'd be a real shame.
So we'll see you on Rumble tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We love you, and tomorrow is Firearms Friday. We'll see you in the morning.